Using countability arguments, we have shown that the set of real numbers is uncountable. So on one side, we have proved natural numbers, integers, and q plus, q minus, they are all countably infinite, and if you look at the set of real numbers is uncountable. If you look at the set of real numbers, it consists of rational numbers and irrational numbers. Now the question is, rational numbers, we have seen it is countably infinite, and what about the countability of irrational numbers? And is the set of irrational numbers countably infinite or uncountable? Which we shall see now. And towards this end, look at this claim. Countable union of countable sets is countable. So when we talk about countable here, this could mean countably finite or countably infinite. Okay. So the question says there are countable sets A1, A2, A3, and so on. So these are all countable sets. You take countable union. So you take union of them, and the number of unions that you take is also countable. So which means you will have something like A1, A2, A3, and so on. This may go up to K, or K may be fixed, or it could be A1 union A2, so on up to union the natural number. The number of sets that you consider may be n itself. So it says countable union of countable sets. So each of this is countable. So each AI is countable. It could be countably finite, or it could be countably infinite. Then you are taking union of them. That number of unions that you take may be finite in nature, or it may be the size of the natural number set. So that's what it says, countable union of countable sets. Now the question says, this union, you merge all of them, you get a set. That set is also countable. Okay, that's what the claim says. You have countable sets and you take union of them, and the number of sets that you take may be countably finite, or number of sets that you take may be countably infinite. If you take countably infinite number of sets, then the number of unions you perform is countably infinite. Otherwise, number of unions you perform will be countably finite. Now you merge all of them. So union of sets is also a set. That union, you get a set, right? Now the question says A is countable. That's all it says. So meaning you take n, you take n union, maybe I union, maybe some finite set 1, 2, 3. So this could be A1, this could be A2, this could be A3 union n cross n union set of prime numbers. So like this, you take union of all of this, what you get is a set. The question says this set is countably infinite. you have countable sets. Some of them are countably infinite, some of them are countably finite. Take the union, and number of unions that you take may be finite in nature in this case, or in general it could be uh, countably infinite number of unions. Take the union, you get a set, look at the count of that set. The claim says that count is countably infinite. Okay. So which means to show that the union is countable, just apply the definition. So I just have to show that there exists an enumeration of the elements of this union or enumeration of A, or there exists a bijection from A to N. Okay. So what I will do is the following. Consider this matrix. So A1 is countable because it says each one is countable. Which means there exists an enumeration. List the elements of A1. A1 and A2, A3 and so on. Okay, so clarity purpose, A11, A12, A13 and so on. Next you take A2. A2 is also countably infinite. Start listing them. A21, A22. There exists an enumeration, so start listing them. Similarly, look at A3, A31, A32, A33 and so on. Now each of this is countable. You list them following their ordering. Now the union is captured here. I just have to show there is an enumeration and there is a mapping to the natural numbers. So like the way we did before, follow snake tail argument. This is mapped to first natural number, second natural number and third, fourth natural number. Like that it goes. Now this tells you that this space is A1 union A2 union A3, and this has got an enumeration and subsequently a mapping to the set of natural numbers that shows that A has got bijection to N and A is countably infinite. Okay, very interesting claim, and its application is powerful. So just list each AI, and the space, this matrix contains union of all of them. Then start listing them following snake tail order. Okay. Now claim irrational set as uncountable. In fact, it is because of irrational numbers R is uncountable. Okay, because the other set is countable. Suppose irrational is countably infinite. Now R consists of rational union irrational. We know that rational numbers are countably infinite. Union, we have assumed the irrational numbers are countably infinite. Just now we have shown countable union of countable sets is countable. Countable union of two countable sets is this. This shows that set of real numbers is countably infinite. But this is a contradiction. In our earlier discussion, we have shown that the set of real numbers are uncountable. So therefore, our assumption that irrational numbers is countably infinite is wrong. So therefore, irrat is uncountable. Suppose you assume irrational numbers are countably infinite, then real numbers are union of rational numbers and irrational numbers. We have already shown rational numbers are basically union of these two. We know this one is countably infinite, this one is countably infinite. their union is countably infinite, and because of this assumption, irrational numbers are countably infinite. Again, apply this claim, you get to see that their union is countably infinite. And this shows that set of real numbers is countably infinite. However, we have proved in the previous discussion that the set of real numbers is uncountable. So therefore, this assumption is wrong. That says that the set of irrational numbers is uncountable. In fact, it is because of this the set of real numbers is uncountable. Okay, very powerful theorem, and the way it is applied is something very interesting. We shall next discuss this. We know that for a sigma, say sigma is a, b, or sigma is some finite alphabet, sigma star is countably infinite. But what we are asking is, we are asking power set of sigma star. So meaning sigma is some finite alphabet, maybe a, b, c, d, and we know that sigma star basically all possible strings. So w1, w2, w3 and so on. We know that this one is countably infinite. Now what we are asking is power set of sigma star, set of all subsets of this. So w1 is a subset, w1, w3 is a subset, w2, w6, w10 is a subset, like that you list all of them. Now look at that set, and this itself is countably infinite. We are asking power set of an infinite set. In particular, power set of, we know power set of an infinite set is infinite, but what we want to know is power set of not just infinite set, a countably infinite set. Is it countably infinite or uncountable? And it turns out that power set of sigma star is uncountable. As always, let's attempt a proof by contradiction. Suppose power set of sigma star is countably infinite, which means there exists an enumeration. So enumeration will tell you power set number 1, subset number 1, subset number 2, subset number 3 and so on. So you list them. So you can list A1, you can list A2, you can list A3, A4 and so on. Over here what I do is you have W1, W2, W3, W4 and so on. So this one is sigma star. Sigma star is countably infinite. So list sigma star in standard ordering. So we know that sigma star is countably infinite, so you can list them, first string, second string, third string and so on. This one I am listing because we have just now assumed that power set of sigma star is countably infinite. So there exists an enumeration. So you get A1, A2, A3 and so on. So you get this. Okay. Now this one is like a binary matrix. Suppose you see if I place 1 here, which means W1 is part of A1. If I place 0, which means W2 is not part of A1. If I place 1, 1, 1 here, which means W2, W3, W4 is part of A2. So you get a binary matrix. This precisely represents the entire enumeration. The subset of sigma star, which is precisely A1, are all those elements in sigma star or strings in sigma star which are part of A1, you can see here. And whichever place you see 1, those strings are part of A2. So this precisely tells you that the enumeration is precisely here. Now what I do, I am going to cook a set, in particular a subset. Let me consider a set S. It consists of say Z such that you look at AI. It consists of say Wi such that you look at AI and look at Wi. If that one is 0, you include Wi. What does that mean? You look at basically the diagonal elements. AI, Wi, A1, W1, A2, W2, A3, W3, A4, W4 and so on. If the element is 0, meaning it is not there, then you include them. Okay? So the set S consists of all those Wi such that AI, Wi is 0. And these two are present, and now A3 you see, A3 is 0, then you include. And then you look at A4, A4 suppose it is 0, then you include. And like that you look at the diagonal entries. If the element is 0, then you include Wi into S. So look at the diagonal elements. Wherever the entry is 0, you include the corresponding Wi. Now clearly S is, this is also a subset, and it consists of strings of this form. So which means this one is a subset of sigma star. Correct? Sigma star consists of all possible strings. Now in that, S is a subset, which means S is an element of power set of sigma star. Power set of sigma star consists of set of all subsets, first subset, second element, so on. So this is also one subset, so which is an element in power set of sigma star. However, you see that S is not enumerated. S is not listed in our enumeration. For example, you include say W3, you see that it is not same as A3. You include W4, it is not same as this. So S differs from each AI in at least one position. At least in the diagonal entry it will differ. And if you see that W1 is A1, W1 is 0, then you include, which means this is not same as A1. Then A3, W3 is 0, then you include W3, then this is not same as A3. So at least at the diagonal entry, you see that S is differing from each AI. It may differ at other places also. So that shows that our enumeration is incomplete. So our enumeration is incomplete, and our assumption, so which means if you backtrack and you see that our assumption that there exists an enumeration is incorrect, and that is followed from this statement, which means the assumption that power set of sigma star is countably infinite is false. So therefore assumption is false and power set of sigma star is not countably infinite or uncountably infinite. So this is not countably infinite or power set of sigma star is uncountably infinite. So you see that many interesting claims make use of the observations that we have made and the stake tail argument and constructing an element subset of this type. These are all something crucial which we keep using it often. So having discussed uncountable sets, the next interesting part is we look at a computational problem. We see it as in one side, is it solvable? Solvable meaning there exists an algorithm. On the other side, unsolvable problems and no algorithm exists. There does not exist an algorithm. So now we are asking how many computational problems are there? Is it countably infinite or uncountably infinite? We have seen that number of C programs is countably infinite like that. Now we are moving into the next higher domain where we look at how many computational problems are there. So please note, look at this example. So my first problem is, I am saying print the real interval 0, 1. Second one is print the real interval 1, 2. So like that I start doing it. So basically my problem is simple. Print I, j and I, j belongs to, you can say, R. Okay. And because I can keep asking, right? Initially I start with 0, 1, then 1, 2, then you can ask print 0.1 like that. Now if you look at this, how many computational problems are there? See, when we ask this question, first you see whether the question is meaningful, making sense and so on. You are asked to print a, b, where a is a real number and b is a real number. That could be anything. And so question is meaningful. And now we are asking how many such questions one can ask. Each one is a meaningful computational problem. Now ij belongs to R, so that shows that this is one example set of problem which says that this one is uncountable. So number of computational problems is uncountably infinite. So my first problem is something like print 0, 1, print 1, 2. In general, I am saying my computational problem is print the real line I, j where ij come from R. So how many such computational problems are there? So R into R, so R square, R itself is uncountable. So we know that number of such computational problems is uncountably infinite. This is just a sample. This subset itself is uncountably infinite. Naturally, if you look at all possible computational problems, it will be uncountable in nature. Okay, and this is on one side. On the other side, so we have just now shown that number of computational problems is uncountably infinite. Now this one consists of two sets. One is solvable set, the other one is unsolvable set. Fine. And solvable, there exists an algorithm, and which means there exists a C program which will halt, and both input and output are well defined. With well defined so there exists a C program with well defined input and output that will halt. So which means you can realize this algorithm using this. We know that number of C programs is countably infinite, and number of C programs that halt is also countably infinite. For example, the one that we have discussed, print 1, print 2, this is this set, if you see, this is a meaningful C program, and each program will halt. So this is countably infinite, and this is a subset of all C programs that halt on inputs which are well defined. So that shows that number of C programs that halt is countably infinite. So solvable problems are countably infinite in nature because there exists an algorithm, there exists a C program that halt with well defined input and output. So which means this part is countably infinite. Now suppose unsolvable set is countably infinite, then the union of solvable and unsolvable is countably infinite. That is a contradiction. Contradiction to what? Contradiction to set of computational problems. So therefore the set of unsolvable problems is uncountably infinite. So we want to know how many different computational problems are there, like sorting, searching, like that. There are plenty of computational problems. Print 1, 2, print 5, 4, print the real line 2, 4, print the real line ij, and you can ask for any ij. So all this is an example. For example, print I, j and vary ij over r. So that gives you uncountably infinite computational problems. So that shows that the number of computational problems is so much. While this is there, one can look at, on the other side, you can partition the set of computational problems into solvable set and unsolvable set. Solvable, there exists an algorithm and there exists a C program that halt. So what is the cardinality of this? On the other side, unsolvable set, no algorithm exists. It turns out that number of C programs that halt is countably infinite. We have seen one example, print 1, print 2, print n. This is one sample. So which means this is countably infinite. If this is also countably infinite, then their union will be countably infinite. That's a contradiction. So therefore unsolvable problems are uncountably infinite. So that shows that there are many problems, uncountably infinite number of problems are there for which no algorithm exists. And so with this we have brought in the infiniteness or the notion infinite sets in the context of computer science, and in particular we saw how to count the number of C programs and how many computational problems are there and how many solvable problems are there, unsolvable problems are there. And the techniques that we have learned, something like union of countable sets is countable, and establishing a bijection between a set and a natural number, establishing a bijection between a set and the real numbers. Those are all the tricks which we keep using it very often.